Hello, everyone. Happy to be back with another Young Indian, part of the Voice of the Young series. Right now, we have with us Ayushman Mazumder. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Ayushman.
So very good morning, very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Ayushman Mazumder. I am from West Bengal. I am pursuing my economics second year undergraduate. I recently got selected for the summer school in the Barcelona School of Economics, and I'm right now young, and I have taken up the topic of graduate unemployment in India. And I think this is one of the best topics to talk on being an undergraduate student. So I will start from the very basic of how the Indian education system is, what are the challenges we are facing, and I will try giving you a comprehensive explanation of how the problem of graduate unemployment is actually happening in our country. So in simple words, youth are considered to be the most valuable asset for any nation. They are going to be the future of any country, and maybe for every country, the only resource they have, the only asset they have are the students. So they are going to lead the future, but without their active participation in the economy, a nation will remain in the domain of depression. That is one of my views on it. So one of the main hindrance towards development is its increasing unemployment among the graduate students, the joblessness among all the graduate nowadays, and it has become so acute. So in the last like 5, 7 years, I think one of the most essential things that has happened in India is the graduate unemployment. So I would like to break my entire speech into 4 points actually. So the first point will be the various reasons for unemployment in India. The second will be the evaluation of the education system according to me, of course. Then will be the university programs that we are actually doing. It will include my programs also, what I am actually into. And at the last, I would like to give a comprehensive explanation of what I think should be changed in the economy. So if we actually talk about the very first point, the various reasons for unemployment. So let's not get into a very difficult example. Be very simple if we talk about lack of information. So being a student of economics, I took commerce in my 12th, although people criticize every student for taking something other than science. Uh, I also took commerce. So my intention was to get into public policy. We work in the electricity sector, but do something different than what general people do. So I got into the field of economics honors. So what I understood is that the motivation towards doing something in life is more of like the motivation you get from earning, which means that our parents or even our elder brothers, sisters, they motivate you to do something just for the sake of getting money in return. I never listen to people who are into the engineering background that they want to do something for what they love. The one thing I get to hear is that they want to get into information technology because there is a lot of scope there. And by scope, it's not exposure, it's just the amount of money they will earn. And this is something, this is the exact reason why there is a problem of graduate unemployment. If I consider 100 people, and all the 100 people are from the previous engineering background, from the BCom department, from the literature, from economics. If everyone wants to get into the field of IT and do a specific sort of job, the requirement reduces and the supply increases. And this is exactly where the problem arises. In economics, we call it like there is no equilibrium point. The supply is greater than the demand. So, in the field of education, I think, or in the field of how people are getting jobs, it's much more important that you love what you do rather you're just getting motivated by the salary that you see in your maybe like your papers. That is one of the reasons I think that is important because maybe a person, let's take an example of a person who wants to get into fashion designing. Maybe he loved that, but he's actually getting into the field of something which is motivated by, uh, let's suppose you say that your future will be safe. You might not be able to pursue your dream, but your future will be safe. In India, the problem of education is basically killing out the dreams of young people and handing over degrees. That is the basic problem of India. And I don't think it can be solved that easily. And more of like India in the next 50, 60 years, maybe we can overcome this, or maybe in one decade also. So who knows? So being an active participant of the Indian economy, I think that is one of the major reasons. So there is another thing which is very simply explained as the lack of skill in Indian education. We often experience that our education system is more of uh, progress based, grade based education system. In almost class 1 to 12, you study in a board and you are taught so many things altogether. And after your school ends, you literally have nothing to say. You have because in average, people have done nothing in their lives. All they have done is they went to school every day, they did their classes, they came back home, they did their tuitions, they went to the exam, and it's all what they did. So if I talk about US and India, I recently did my summer school, so I was quite astonished with the holistic way of teaching. I don't see anyone in India doing that. Like, of course, there are professors also. I have seen them, but there are very less number of people who are actually looking at a student from a very holistic mindset. But in India, people don't do that. So that's one of the major acute problems, and that is something where we call the lack of skill. Students who are actually very good at academics, they might not be good at acquiring something essential for their corporate lives. And this is another reason why people are not getting into the field of corporate and they are struggling in getting a job. Just like my previous example, that if the requirement is 10 and there are 100 people going into it, the competition per person increases. That is the major problem. Although it cannot be, it honestly cannot be solved that easily, considering the population of India right now and the increasing population of India. So this was the first point. The reasons for unemployment, according to me, there may be multiple, but I'm just talking from the very education background. So if we evaluate, my second point was the evaluation of our education system. If I be very honest about it, being a student of CBSE, I have done my commerce 11, 12. I took commerce in my 11th, 12th. When I first came to college, I got to know that there are many things. For example, there are a few statistical tools, you can say, more of like accountancy tools. Like I was not aware of any of them. Those were taught in certain boards, but in CBSE they were not, and we literally had no idea about them. So this is exactly where India is lacking behind. If we take a holistic way of teaching a student that what are the things you require in your real life, it will be better. Because that is the time he will understand that maybe there are jobs, there are other things I can do. If you don't tell people what they are supposed to do or what they are supposed to learn more, it's not it's not possible that they will learn that automatically. For example, when I was in 10th, I never knew there is something known as summer school, there are winter schools, there are internships abroad. I never knew all this, although I came to college and I learned from my professors. They are very good. So I think in Indian education system, the first thing I would like to point out is that students are expected to do something, assuming that you get opportunity for something. Okay, let's assume that there's a program happening in your school and you are having an opportunity to perform there. So this is something people assume in their life, that you will get the opportunity. You cannot create an opportunity on your own. That is the please, people don't have enough information. That is the reason. If you know there are multiple things you can do in the job market, maybe this is not your suggestion. This will not be your situation. So for the last couple of years, I got into this entire public policy and thing like 2 years earlier. Uh, and I understood this, that maybe if you motivate someone to get into a lot, if you motivate, let us assume that you get into college and you are doing your economics degree. If you are given an assignment to do something, let's suppose you are given an assignment to write about some of the microeconomic principles, and maybe you learn different things. But whether it's more of like you give people the incentive, or you give people exposure to learn different things rather than sticking to a single syllabus that has literally that is not enough in today's world, I think. So what we are teaching is not enough, and what we might teach is also not enough. We should motivate our students to learn on their own. Maybe that can be anything. The person who is actually into science, he can also learn about investment banking. Not only the people from finance can actually get into investment banking. So you should not restrict jobs that this job can only be done from this background and this background is good for this job. So this differentiation is actually creating the unemployment. I'm not saying that anyone can do anything, but students should be motivated towards learning almost everything. A teacher should motivate that. But in India, we don't have that holistic mentality. So that is one of the major things I think I believe in the education system. So now if I talk about university programs, now you are done with your school, you are 18 years old and you got into college, you're quite matured and you have experienced a lot of things in your school and you have finally decided to do a certain degree. You get into engineering, you get into BCom, anything. So for me, I got into economics. The main fundamental was doing something that was out of the box. So although there are not many people who think the same way doing economics honors, so I got into Calcutta University, and Calcutta University is known for their academics. So in the very first year, I learned a lot of things in my first semester only. Being a student, I took commerce in my 11th, 12th, just like I said. I had economics at a very basic level, simple inflationary gap, deflationary gap, and simple things. Uh, then I came in my when I got into college, and it was my first year, my first class. I literally got crazy looking at the syllabus and looking at what we're actually being taught. Just imagine you're teaching someone what is the difference between macro and microeconomics, and suddenly you get into indifference curves. That is a humongous transition. What I'm trying to say is that in university and school, the degree you're going to study, there should be a constant transition in that, which means that if you're studying 1 to 10, the next degree should not be 10 to 100. It should be 10 to 11. So that it becomes easier. Like for me, it was a little difficult at the very start, but later on, it became a little difficult, also a little easier. Also, that's the thing about economics. 3 years of economics teaches you a lot of stuff, I think. So when I talk about university programs, I think for every degree, there should be separate classes that are focusing on your soft skills, your quantitative analysis, your quants, your simple people who are getting into the corporate, they don't even know how to what I can say, introduce themselves, and that is not something we are being taught in our colleges. Maybe we should forget about teaching humongous difficult stuff and focus on simple things that might increase the chances of at least getting selected at the first round. So I got to talk with few of my friends who got rejected in their first level of interview, and the basic problem was their soft skills, their quant, and I think their general behavior. So although my college had all this and it was a very nice, I would say, a program which focused on the overall soft skill development of a child, of a student, of course. So university programs should have separate classes, or I would say separate. See, you have a 10, 15, 20 days of semester break. We can implement job-based skills classes. Maybe you teach about R, you teach data, you teach micro, Excel, anything that is required for the corporate life that are not being used in this. Maybe a person who is studying Ricardo theory of rent, he is not interested in learning micro Excel, Microsoft Excel, and that is something he's doing wrong in his life. So when I first got into third semester, I got to learn Stata, I got to learn Julia, and it was a wonderful experience for me because when I got into that foreign education thing, I saw that people already know that. They are already being taught that from the very first semester of their college. It isn't like this very separate thing that we will have programs, we will have this, that, and it's a very simple thing. You're teaching your students basic coding is like basic subject. You have maths, EVS in your 4-5 in your 4th, 5th year of your school, you just have coding also. So that is some of my recommendations to the university. I never got the chance to speak to one of my university professor about this, but although we have this holistic way that I of course love about Calcutta University. So universities should work upon teaching their students that how they should behave outside the college, that there is a life, there is a world outside your books. That is very essential. Although it is very familiar, like you also have done your economics honors, I saw your profile also. So I think that is very essential. You also have done that holistic way of learning something. There are so many things. I think economics is one of the best degrees to study in today's world that gives you total practical knowledge. I think that is the most practical knowledge is given in economics, in maths honors. And I think these are the things that are important in the university program that is to be implemented, or they are implemented also. So this was my third point. And my fourth point is basically some of the things that I believe should be changed, or maybe if I get the chance to change them, I would definitely change. So the first and the foremost thing is basically the class size. This is irrespective of school, college. So I will point out a very unique problem. I faced this once in my school also. There are 50 students in a class, and let's suppose there are 10, 15 people who are actually good at academics. They're very good. All right. They're very good. And the rest people, they may be slow learners, the people who are maybe some of them having dyslexia, they are not able to copy from the very board, they're not understanding the teacher's language. So in India, what we do, we rely on those 15 students in the class. And rest 35 are like, maybe they are not worth looking at. So I think if you reduce the class size, that is of course a very difficult thing to implement, but reducing the class size can actually improve your immediate knowledge in the class, the focus, and even the happiness. Be very simple to it. A student who is going to his school every day, he comes back home with a sad face that I went to the class, I raised my hand, but my teacher didn't respond to it because I was not good enough. Maybe I didn't score good in my exam. That's why I didn't get the chance. So this is more of like I faced this because I was in a central school. So we had 60, 70, 60 people in our class almost. So the people who were sitting in the first rows also used to get the attention, not us, technically. So when I came to college, this was not the case. And very less people do economics honors, I think. There are hardly 30, 32 people in our class, and each one of us is getting the same amount of attention. I'm not saying that every student is an attention seeker or something like that. But in the very first years of their school, in their first, second, third year standard, it's very essential. And this is for the overall development of the student. And this is very essential because the cycle of backlog continues. Assuming that you don't understand grammar, you won't be able to write paragraphs. You won't be able to write paragraphs, you won't be able to understand things. And the backlog keep on getting continued. And this is something that never ends. So I have seen people like this, and I know how it feels. Like I have seen people doing this. So the next thing is basically stop following the concept of motivating a student towards, or I would say encouraging them towards traditional jobs and saying that this will, I would say this is a safe future. This term is used by many teachers in my school that maybe if you do this, your future is secured. It's never like that. In the field, there are many people who got into the ECE background, the CSE background, they can computer science, they will become a software engineer. And now when the placement comes, they see that they are not the only one. There are millions of people who heard the same thing and they are also on the same path. So this was one of the things that I believed this, although it is implementing, it's already getting implemented in our country, that if you cannot reduce the class size, maybe you can increase the number of teachers, 50 students, 25 students, 25 students, 2 teachers. Then this is very essential. Although in certain private schools, they are implementing this. Although in central schools, there are no such things. The third thing should be the encouragement of every teacher. Just like it's more of like a correlated point. There are people, India is known for creating billionaires, millionaires, people who are actually the gods of tomorrow. And India is known for that. And we as Indians, we don't consider doing that. If I actually be very honest with it, when I used to be in school, we had counseling sessions. And the only thing we were taught in that is you have to opt for science in your 11th, 12th. You have to get into the field of engineering. This is how your life goes. No one talked about anything else. Almost every teacher is as if brainwashed that the only thing that matters in your life is opting for science. and maybe you do the same thing just like others. Although there were not many people like those, but they were. So I think there should be a encouragement towards the entrepreneur mindset instead of just job seeking, and people should work upon that. Maybe the person who is learning a new thing can be the leader of tomorrow, rather the person who is sitting at home and doing the same internal examinations every day. India should look at every student from a very holistic mentality. Other than that, it's not possible for India. And one of the most important things, we say that Indian economy is booming at a very high rate, at an increasing rate. But we never look at the entire economy as we look at the entire economy as a whole. We never consider the sectors of it. If I just compare the manufacturing sector, the IT sector, if I consider the teaching sector also, the only improvement that is happening is in the IT sector. I'm not saying it's not happening in the manufacturing sector. The motivation towards people that getting into IT will give me a lot of opportunities and manufacturing will not. I don't see anyone getting into mining. I don't see anyone getting into sustainable development, agricultural development. From economics, people get into finance, finance, finance. Everything is about finance. No one thinks about doing something else in their lives. If you actually look into the European countries, they are having specific environment economists. And that is how holistic they look at every student. Or maybe in India, if you look at sustainable development, people will not look at you even. Eventually, it will be more of like, you haven't done finance, you haven't done engineering. Maybe this is not a course, but it's not the thing. In India, the rate we are burning the fossil fuel, someday it will be literally over. India is going to lose almost everything in the next couple of years. So this is also one of the things I really wanted to share, that India needs economists from the environment sector, from the electricity market. Those are very essential. So that's all I think. The one and last thing, there should be a holistic way of looking at every student rather than just looking at their academic grades. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayushman. Very impressive set of analysis and conclusions and recommendations. I must say that it's very impressive that you are still a second year student and are you now going into third year or you are?
Yeah, I just gave my fourth semester, like to last day only.
And this internship or this summer school, that was remote or what was it?
It was like I applied for it in the face-to-face only, but I couldn't get my visa to Barcelona. So
Oh,
that's the problem. I got it online that time.
okay. Well, it's very impressive. Okay. I mean, you
Yeah,
have
thank
done
you.
a lot of thinking, you have done a lot of analysis, and you have come up with conclusions and recommendations. And that's a very, very encouraging part, because I don't think they teach this in any of your courses. It's all your own doing, right? And whether or not they've given you this kind of education, you have acquired it, right? Somehow you have acquired that education to think on your own and to come to your own conclusions. So very impressive, I must say. Okay, and keep
Thank
it
you.
up, keep it going. There are many issues that you have thought of, but there's still uh, some nuances to be figured out. And I think the most important thing to figure out is what is the additional cost of everything that you are saying.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, we have to figure it out, and then we have to understand which is the most cost-effective intervention. We need to rank them as to which are the 4 recommendations you have, which is more cost-effective and which is less cost-effective. So you need to prioritize those, but that it can wait. It can take time. Okay, and it is not something that I'm saying you need now, but yeah, certainly you need to be. You should do it at some point. Look at the economic
I
side.
I had a question actually. Uh, I
Yeah.
wanted to write a sort of a quantitative, or you can say a qualitative paper on this, so education changes in the education system. Can you guide me in what way shall I do it?
In what way you should do it is, as I said, I think you need to be very clear
Hmm.
on the impact of each change.
Okay.
Okay, you can't just say they should be holistic. what is the impact of holistic?
Okay.
Okay, you need to have cause and effect. Okay. All your recommendations are the cause. You are saying that, look, this is the intervention. What is the effect of this? It needs to be very clear.
Okay.
Instead of just saying this sounds good to me, or I think it's good, or everybody thinks it's good, what is the impact?
Okay.
Right? That is, I think, the first step. Because if you're going to do a cost benefit analysis of some sort, then you need to know what the benefits are of each intervention. Okay, and traceable. That,
Okay.
look, this is the impact of this, and it can be based on analysis in other countries. It can be based on some sample study, whatever. But I think the first step for you is to figure out qualitatively the cause and effect of your recommendations.
Okay.
Okay, so I would say that's the first thing. And the
Okay.
second thing I think is to go back to the basics. That
Okay.
what's the difference between improving elementary education and higher education? Okay, this is because everybody now knows that what happens in age 0 to 3 is the most important educational part of your life. That's where the real learning is. And that's so I think if you're going to talk about college and upper school, you need to also know what is happening, if not 0 to 3, at least 1 to 5. Grades 1 to 5. If you are not going to be able to compare, so I mean, in the longer run, you need to be able to say, look, I mean, some people will never get it in those ages. So how do we, it's a catch up. It's a catch up. Right? Because you should have done it long ago. But now you're saying learn to learn on your own because they didn't teach you that when you were in school. Now in college, you have to learn on your own. Okay, you're catching up. So you need to put it in that framework that this is catch up. The original thing should be done at a lower age. I think that's enough points from me.
Okay.
Okay, that's enough.
Okay. Like I said so many things all together, I'm just got a little confused in what shall I actually work upon.
No, I'm saying this is my suggestion for you, that you take a look at the relative importance of the various recommendations you have made. Just a second, I'll put you on pause. Okay, so Ayushman, what I'm saying is that you need an assessment of the relative ranking of your 4 policies changes in cost benefit terms, or if it's too early for that, just to say, look, these are the benefits. Okay. You also need a very broad comparison of intervention at a young age versus intervention at a college age. Okay, because there's only a finite budget. And what is the difference between intervention at a young age and intervention at a later age?
Okay.
Okay, so these are sort of 2 broad issues that I want to bring to your attention.
Okay. So you're basically saying that if I implement something, so what is the possible, what can happen after that? What is the benefit? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I got it.
Yes. And if you can, okay, that's enough from me.
Okay.
That's enough. Okay, it's a lot to do that you have taken it upon yourself. There's a lot to do. And look at the literature in India. There's a lot of literature. And try to get some summary of that into your analysis. That look at what I'm saying, because this class size is well known. Okay, I mean, you are not the first one to say it. You're probably the 10,000th person to say that this is class size. So has there been any quantification of the difference of class size in India? What is the impact of different class sizes? Has anybody studied it? Has anybody analyzed it? Is there a real benefit? If it is, How big is it? We are economists, right? We can't just say that there's a benefit. You say, well, how big is it? Are you saying
Exactly.
you have 2 teachers? Well, the 2 teachers doubles the cost, operational cost. And how do I find the classroom for 2 classes? Okay, so all these issues are there. Somebody may have studied it, somebody may have studied it in another country. So take a look at it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I think it's more than enough from my side. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work that I'm telling you.
No, no.
Anything else from your side?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, you're done.
Like
All
I
right.
got the answer to all of them actually.
Okay, wonderful. All right, then let's say bye now.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Bye till then. Bye, everybody.